we're going to look at how the cue words play into a golf setup and how it can help us and also help you get into the correct positions that many of you have been trying to get into for years. So we're going to show you a variety of different setups. So we're going to have Jeff, he's going to actually bend from his neck, and he's going to hunch his back, and then he's going to bend from his knees. And how many of you have seen this posture? Because of his setup, his weight is naturally, it's going to be on the balls of his feet. This would be center for this type of a setup. So the first thing I'm going to tell Jeff to do is lift his chin up a couple inches. Now that I see this straight, and I'm going to ask him to shrug to press. And then I'm going to ask him, can you feel your lats? He's probably going to say yes. If there was an arch in his back, I'd tell him to contract the front part of the box. And now I'm going to ask him to take out 2 inches knee bend, and then do one more chest up and bend from the hip. There you go. So now we bent from the hip. So see how that changed his posture? Now I'm going to ask him to lean inside both heels, push the heels. It's a vertical force going from the back of the knee straight down to the center of the ankle, and you're going to be pushing the heel and the ankle into the ground. That looks like a pretty good setup. So let's look at another one. So let's have Jeff stand all the way up straight. Now let's say Jeff's going to bend instead of from the neck like he did the first one. Go ahead and bend your neck. The first one he bent from here to here, and then he bent his knees, and that was pretty much how he got over the ball. So this one, we're going to start him upright again in line. Instead of bending from the neck and his knees, we're going to actually have him bend from this part of his back and let those shoulder blades just kind of spread out. And that's going to force him to kind of tuck under, and then we're going to bring in a lot of knee bend. So now he's got a lot more bend coming from here, and his pelvis is really tucked under, and he's got a lot of knee bend. How many of you have seen this golf setup? We see that a lot. So how would I coach him out of this? The first thing I do is say, take almost all of your knee bend out and stand completely upright. Stand up straight, chest up, chest up. Now bend from the hip and allow your hips to move back. Now one time, sway forward, sway back. And close your eyes, sway forward, sway back, and tell me where balance and center is. Typically the hip's going to be way back here. Lean inside both heels, push them in the ground. And then if he was still hunched here, go ahead and hunch over. It's even hard for Jeff to get in the wrong position. If he was still all his shoulder blades spread out and hunched over, I would say shrug, depress, and he'd depress, and there he would. We'd actually be able to coach him into the proper positions. Now there's a third posture that we see a lot. If Jeff starts from an upright, we see a lot of people, and we can still read this today in a lot of the top golf magazines, is to bend from the waist. So if he bends from his waist, he bent from here. And that's something you really don't want to do. But if he bends from his waist, and that really tucks that pelvis under, at this point his weight's probably way too far back on his heels, but actually for this setup, based on body and Newton's laws, that's balance. The balance would be way back on his heels. So how do I get him out of this position? And also his shoes, I don't know if you can see that, but his weight is really rolled to the outside of his feet. For this posture, I'd have him completely stand up and start all over again. He could start with the shrug to press, hold his box. I can ask him to bend from the hip. If he had too much knee bend, I could have asked him to take some of the knee bend out. Knees are relaxed. Lean inside both heels, push the heels down into the ground. So now his sense of feel is box, his weight's back here. Have him sway forward, sway back. So he can kind of test that. You're going to want to do a lot of this the first 30 days. Put yourself in all these different postures, sway forward, sway back. Once your weight is back, lean inside both heels and push them in the ground. That looks really nice. If you can videotape yourself doing it, that'd be great too. So let's talk about, this is actually the ideal setup. We used all the cue words and all the fundamentals you learned to get into that position. Let's see how that plays out when you're over a ball. How the ball position is going to have to change when you change the way that you set up. So let's look at that first posture and how that's going to affect ball placement. If he's right here and then lots of knee bend. That ball might be way out in front of him. So we'll move it out there. Now let's see what happens if we shrug to press. where the club moved to, and you're going to take out some knee bend, and he's going to move back into his hips. So the biggest problem with this is this golfer's eye is the strongest part of his nervous system, and his eye knows how to hit a ball way out here. You move that club and you move that ball back, that's a good 3 inches, possibly 4 inches. That's going to be the hardest thing for the brain to override. That's a big, big difference. So let's look at the second posture. It's going to be real similar because he's all spread out and hunched over. And the chin may not be as bent over, lots and lots of knee bend, and he's really going to reach his arms out. We see this set up all the time. So notice how the elbow is way out in front of the shoulder. It should be in neutral in this position. So that golfer, the ball would be way out here. And he could hit the ball very efficiently that way. He may have been hitting the ball that way for many, many years. So now we're going to pull his shoulder blades back, get him back into his heels, take out some of the knee bend so he's not on the balls of his feet. Look at that. That's a 6-inch difference. So as you're moving into these new postures, what we see golfers do is they'll learn how to do this at home. They'll go back to the driving range. They'll put that ball that far away from them. I know that's pretty far, but there are people who do that, especially with a driver. And then they're going to go right back to that because they don't want to bring that ball back. So you're going to have to readapt the eye and what it visually sees in the depth perception when you're actually changing your posture and your setup.
Hey, thanks for watching that video, and be sure to look in the description box below for the link where you can register for a free video series, 10 videos that will teach you how to do an in-home assessment to test your own flexibility to see what is your capability to get into those coveted positions. You don't want to miss it. Description box below. And please, as always, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, pass and share the videos along, spread the word. Body movement laws is the future of golf instruction. Thanks.